Wedding photography is boring. A lot of the time. But it doesn't have to be. Because I was watching TV the other day, and something struck me. And it's the reason why I have a very low tolerance for a lot of TV and film. And it's also the same reason why wedding photography is so often boring. So, let me explain this, and bear with me. I'm going somewhere with this. So let me start off here by showing you this scene.
Will you type that into a search engine?
He wrote The Magus, he wrote The French Lieutenant's Woman.
Anything in 1963 published in Great Britain?
The Collector.
Collector.
Now we can understand what's going on here. They're using the internet to research an author. We can see the author's name on screen and they're talking through what they're doing. We understand the narrative. But we know this not because it feels representative of our own experience, but because we've become fluent in the language of cinema. We know that bleeping monitors and multiple windows with lines of code are used to tell us that this woman has a high level of computer skill, even though what we are being shown does not really represent what this looks like in real life. Now watch this clip from Mean Girls.
You're the one who made me like this so you could use me for your 8th grade revenge. God, see, at least me and Regina George know we're mean. You try to act like you're so innocent, like, oh, I used to live in Africa with all the little birdies and the little monkeys. You know what? It's not my fault you're like in love with me or something. What?
Oh no, she did not.
While we can clearly recognise that the characters are having an argument, I mean we've all had them, there are a number of familiar narrative devices in play that are keeping the audience at a distance. For example, each character is patiently waiting for their turn to talk. And when they do, they are clear and articulate. When people are in a heightened emotional state, like an argument, this tends not to happen. On top of that, the lines being delivered are reaffirming aspects of the plot, and real arguments, they're not considerate in that way. They don't provide the listener with plot exposition. When we overhear an argument in real life, the information we get is much more cryptic and fragmented. It's not immediately clear what the argument is about. All we can initially decipher is the emotional state of the participants. So these examples are part of a wider problem that I have with TV and cinema. It seems to me that over time, filmmakers and TV show makers have built up a library of cinematic archetypes by which they tell stories. It's like film and TV has created an alternative universe where tropes and cliches are used to represent narrative elements that we as an audience understand. But while mass exposure to these archetypes has made us fluent in this form of cinematic language, it isn't our native tongue. It isn't the reality we recognise. It communicates its literal meaning, but it doesn't make us feel anything. And this is because this library of cinematic archetypes is born not from real human experience, but from the pre-existing language set in place by other films and other TV shows. And this brings me to Lena Dunham's 2012 HBO series, Girls. Now, Girls was a series that really resonated with me, and a big part of that was due to how real the characters and situations felt. You could tell that Dunham isn't trying to fit Girls into a genre or live up to another TV show that's gone before, but rather drawing on inspiration from her own life and her own experience, and she uses this to make something fresh and unique. When the characters in Girls use computers, for example, the experience is recognisable to us. When they have an argument, they talk over each other and they stumble over their words.
Okay, you should,
I
because
didn't
that's
even
what
think
I
about it till you said it just now.
No,
because I don't
okay.
live in a world where there are divisions like that.
You do, okay? That's just you're the one who brought up the 2 out of 3 black male
I didn't say 2 out of
statistic.
3 guys.
And it's this drawing from reality that connects me as a viewer with the characters. When I first saw Girls, I felt like I was watching something different, something original, something new. And new is exciting. Now, for many people, Lena Dunham may be a controversial character. A lot of people really like her. A lot of people really don't. Whatever your opinion is, that's fine, but I don't really want to hear about it in the comments. This is not what this video is about, so I'll just delete your comment if you start going on about how much you hate her or whatever. I'm not interested. Let's keep it relevant. Thank you. So while these examples are from TV and film, I get the same feeling when I read a good book or not a good book. I will often give up on a book if the characters don't resonate with me, and it's always down to the same issue. The difference between channeling real experience into a piece of narrative art and picking from a library of fictional archetypes from other works. So how does this relate to wedding photography? Well, I think this kind of borrowing of language from pre-existing instances within a genre is a pervasive problem across all creative narrative media, be that film, TV, literature, graphic novels, or even photography. So I see parallels in wedding photography of the very same phenomenon. Now, a lot of photographers can sometimes look down on wedding photography as a bit of a lesser form of photography. They can be a bit snobbish about it. And I think this says more about their skills as photographers than about wedding photography itself. Because while weddings do have a lot of ceremony and tradition and everything, they're ultimately about people, and all people are different. They all have their own fears and their own instances of happiness and joy and sadness and complex lives, and it's about two people who found each other, and everyone there are the people who know them best. So weddings are so much more than just the surface detail. When you photograph a wedding, like the library of cinematic tropes, there's a load of established formulas for certain shots. There are certain types of shots that are fashionable and that you see over and over again when you look at portfolios of other wedding photographers and wedding blogs. Maybe you take the couple out at golden hour and you shoot into the sun so you get that lens flare and that warmth. Maybe you get them to stand shoulder to shoulder and put their feet together and take a shot of their shoes. Maybe you hang the wedding dress up against a window so the light shines through it. Maybe you take them small in the frame up against a big vista of sky or against a big wall. I've got a load of tricks I routinely use at weddings. For example, on the dance floor, I'll get up close with a wide angle lens and I'll use a slow sync flash to capture dynamic light trails, and it creates quite an energetic feel to the imagery. And don't get me wrong, all this stuff is important. It's important for the couple to receive a bank of shots they're expecting, and also to have a safety net of technically competent shots to give them. But the problem with relying too heavily on this pre-existing list of shots is that your photography will just start to look like other wedding photographers' photography. Your photos will be less about showing the uniqueness of the people involved and start to look like generic wedding photos. And when you see wedding after wedding shoehorned into the same set of shots, they start to lose all their individuality. Wedding photography becomes boring. And yes, I know that wedding photography is a business, and as I said, these shots are important to get. But if you only focus on getting these shots, then in my opinion, you're selling both the couple and yourself short. So we should also draw influence from our own observations about the couple we're photographing. So let me show you a photo, and this is a photo from a wedding that I shot. This particular photo was taken by Fred, who's the guy I shoot weddings with. And I'm not saying it's a masterpiece or anything, but I want to explain why it is both my and the couple's favourite shot from the whole day. Now this shot was taken at 1/25th of a second on a 5D Mark I at 85mm. This is not ideal. The image is also misfocused. The focus is here on her hand rather than on her face. It was taken at f1.8, which provides a depth of field that's really too shallow for the angle they're at. There's motion blur, there's heavy ISO noise, basically all the things we're told not to do. But there is something in this shot that you can't get by applying a formula. So they're dancing and the wedding day is drawing to a close, and they've gone in for a kiss, and halfway through, happiness has overcome her so much that she interrupts the kiss by this overwhelming need to smile. Now, I don't know about you, but I felt that. You know, when you're so happy and you feel lightheaded and giddy and you literally cannot stop yourself from smiling. And this photo makes me think of that. I feel a real connection with this moment. And I find there's loads of moments to be found like this at weddings. Here are some of my personal favourites from various weddings I've shot. I like this triptych of the groom cracking up into uncontrollable laughter at the best man speech. I like how I can identify with that feeling when I look at it. I can almost feel my stomach muscles ache from that feeling you get when you just can't stop laughing. I like this shot of this lone child that I found just late in the day who'd just had enough. And again, I'm not saying these shots are amazing or aspirational or anything, I just find them more interesting and more telling than all the quirky, trendy and posed shots you see in a lot of wedding photography. I find that some of the best moments of humanity can be found in the downtime between the formal shots, when people just let their guard down for a second. Like here, where the bride has accidentally smashed a glass and everyone's reacting. But what I love about shooting in this situation is that the juxtaposition of genuine humanity against the formality of the posed shot can start to sometimes look reminiscent of a Renaissance painting. I like this one of this group of boys taking a selfie together. Seeing them all pose from an outsider's viewpoint reveals more to me about them than the pose shot itself will. I also love this shot because there are slight hints of Joe Rosenthal's iconic raising of the flag on Iwo Jima. So the crux of what I'm saying is you should look beyond photography to find your inspiration. Try looking for the real moments. Try working intuitively for a bit. Let your subconscious mind drive and just try and forget the rules and any shot lists you've got in your head. Try and find those moments that resonate with people and try new things. Try doing something new, because when you really capture that emotion, when you really capture something that really means something, that really connects with people, and that is the way to create exciting work.